fucking championship.
Breakdown. Okay, guys. So the UFC breakdown this week is around Mr. TJ Dillashaw. So
Ooh,
if you know him, Shami, yeah, he's the ex bantamweight champion. So he went down to fight Henry Cejudo, and he got fucking knocked out. He went down way too light. He fucked himself up, right?
He got fucking wrecked.
So he got caught for drug testing a few weeks after the fight. So let the fight go ahead, of course. And we found the details after the fight that you were actually using drugs.
Shit.
He said he admitted it, said, look, guys, I did something wrong. It'll all come out. That's it, right? But now he's actually had an interview. So he talked about what actually happened. So he took a drug called Procrit to counter his lethargy. So it's used for chemotherapy patients, and it's compound Epiton. You know Epiton? Human EPO?
No, what's human EPO?
So what EPO is and how it came to prominence is, so it's a blood thinner, but it also makes you create blood thickener. It creates blood red cells like crazy. So blood red cells are what you need to create better cardio, better conditioning.
Yeah, carries oxygen, yeah.
Exactly. So what happens is these guys, like, you can create it naturally by like going at high altitudes.
Yeah.
And your blood creates more red blood cells, and then you train on a mountain, 5,000 k's in the air, right? Train on a mountain for like a year, and then you come back down at sea level, and you train, and then you fight or train, and your like cardio is through the roof because you've got this super conditioned like body that's used to that much amount of blood cells.
Yeah.
So how it came to prominence was essentially Lance Armstrong. He was using it, and all the riders were using it. I think they said from riders 1 to, they went back and tested everyone's blood. Riders 1 to like 31 were all using this to get an advantage because you can ride a bike forever. You know what I mean? So he basically came out and said that, yep, he was using that. It was like a different variant. And look, he said, look, I knew I wasn't allowed to take it, but I took it because he was cutting the weight. So he really struggled. He was really struggling to make that weight. And because his body couldn't really keep up with it, it was like, oh, fuck, I'll just take this thing and I'll like feel better. So, and like I can relate not to taking the drugs, but when you cut a lot of weight, your cardio and your strength just deplenishes, you're not used to that weight class. And his body is too physically big and wide to actually sit in that weight class as well. So it's good that he's come out and admitted it, and he said he only used it once, and all these people are saying stuff, but they've gone back and tested his samples, and it is true that it has only been detected once. That is the only time that has popped up. But
that's cheating, bro. That's fucked.
Oh, I'm not justifying his cheating. Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, I think he might have just been like a one-off use, but in the end of the day, it didn't help him. Like, he got literally pushed over and punched in the head, knocked out. Like, he was all stunned, and he's not like that.
But that's his own training errors, right? Dropping weight too fast, too fast. Hey, just because you tried to offset it, like one mistake here plus one cheating here, I mean, I just got no mercy for people who take substances. I know there's a lot of people who must have taken it in MMA, but not this, but just other substances. But it's just.
Here's my question to you: Who isn't using it?
Well, it's not about who isn't using it. It's about who gets caught using it. It's like.
But that's my argument, because I think all professional athletes, like a large majority of them, are using performance-enhancing drugs. Look at all the Olympic cheating that goes on, and then they retest years later. They keep the samples for 40 years, and they retest.
I'll tell you the two kinds of sports where it's most prevalent. For some reason, fighting, and I don't have a reason for it. Not football. Football, no. It's
huge
sports.
In football.
Well, not as much anymore. Wasn't that sort of back in the day? Like the testing is a lot more stringent now, isn't it?
No, it's not. NFL is huge, man.
I'll tell you. Well, in comparison, though, it pales in comparison to sports where there's a lot less of the skill and a lot more of just how your body condition is, like cycling, fucking running, throwing shit. Sports where it's like the randomness of the ball isn't there. It's more to do with your just condition of your fucking body.
Okay. Kind of like weightlifting or something. Like something specific where you need to like do something. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what, like, there's no randomness, there's no game to it. It's just, this is your body and this is what it is. You show up on the day. Obviously there's technique, but it's just more focused on the condition of your body than anything else. Those are the sports where it's really fucked up. Like, for example, it's not as much of a thing in soccer. It's just not much of a thing. You know, that's the biggest sport in the world. You'd think people would be
Mm.
inclined to cheat there, but because
Yeah,
you can
but
make
how is that going to help you though? How is mobility and drugs going to help you in soccer versus like American
endurance.
football makes sense because you're running at each other like you need to be big and strong and fucking run at each other again and again and
Oh,
again.
I don't deny there's a lot of more incentive in other sports, but you could still be a lot fitter. You could run down the ball longer for a lot further. You know, like if you're a midfielder or whatever,
You can
you
like
could
run
run down the
longer.
you could non-stop. You could run down the ball, run down all your opponents. Like you could,
Mm,
yeah. Obviously, it's not the same as when you need power and strength. But
steroids or something. Yeah.
yeah,
One thing I
for
will
some
say
reason,
about this. Sorry, go ahead.
in baseball in the '80s, though, it was really rampant. I don't know. It's just when
Oh,
testing was so shit back then. So like,
up until like probably 5 years ago, it was rampant. Remember Barry Bonds Jr. man? He hit like fucking 300 homers, and Mark
uh,
McGuire, he's another one. He hit
hmm,
380 homers. I think they had the records. They were using steroids for years, and then they changed the rules, right? To make the testing became really stringent, right?
hmm,
But then what they did instead of that was they had these testosterone gummies.
hmm,
So it's like a gummy bear. So it looks like you're just chewing on tobacco because you know they're always chewing. They're chewing
yeah,
tobacco, they're spinning around, right?
yeah,
Except it's like a gummy bear. You chew it, it's digestible testosterone, and it lasts only in the window of you using it. So
no,
you
yeah.
eat it, and then with the 8 hours, so you say baseball game starts at 9 a.m. You eat it, and by 5 p.m. it's gone. You play the game goes for 6 hours, and they test you again, it's gone. So they're
Well,
using that
look,
for
I
years.
think that you know, performance enhancing drugs, it's a plague that will never completely go away. As for as long as sports means money, for as long as it's a big
Mhm.
business, there's always going to be people trying to cheat. I think it's just the other side has to keep up. That's all it is.
It's
The
never
fight
gonna
never
go.
has.
It's
Yeah,
never gonna go.
it's never
There's
gonna
no
go.
way.
But it's just like it's just like crime. It doesn't mean you give up. You have to keep trying to test for it. You have to keep them on their
Mhm.
toes. Because if we're gonna give up, especially in a sport like MMA, for example, people are gonna fucking die, man. Some cunt's juicing using this crazy shit that makes you go nuts.
Mm.
Someone's gonna fucking die at some point. I mean, it's almost forgivable in baseball. All you were doing is whacking a ball. I mean, you're still cheating, but you're just whacking a ball. But when you're hitting people, it's really, really
Mm.
unforgivable to me. I feel that's why I have an extra aversion to it when I hear about it in boxing or UFC or MMA or
Mhm,
anything like that.
mhm,
People are getting
mhm.
knocked the fuck out, and we're talking about like permanent damage. That's when I think, oh, yeah, I don't know. I have a strong aversion to that when I go, oh, you fucking cunts, man. It's just shit.
Mm. I get what
I
you're
don't.
saying. It's. I see the other side of it too, though. Like that side makes sense because like you're hurting someone. You got this jacked up body that
Mm,
can do this, right? But think about it this way, right? When you are on these substances, whether it's testosterone or one of these things, you have that. I think the greatest increase apart from power and strength is that you have the recovery time. So you can train 4 or 5 times a day, and say
yeah,
you did like a leg kick, right? You kick a bag or you kick a pad,
yeah.
and you kick it like say you can kick it like 100 times when you're not on juice, right?
You
But
can
then when
hit it
you
like
can recover
200
well,
times.
you can kick it 200 times, but 3 times a day. So you can get 600 reps in. So your technique of you actually be doing something and getting better and better and better and better, and your efficiency is getting better, right?
Yeah.
And also your recovery. But I know I get what you're saying. Like it's like you're permanently injuring someone. It's getting your strength and power is significantly better than someone
Oh, but
else.
I mean, I'm well aware that the drugs is about recovery, so they have to put in more time. They're still putting in triple the training time, but like,
Yeah.
it's still cheating though. Like, you're still getting this additional ability because you're
Hmm.
cheating, or else you wouldn't
Yeah.
have done it. You wouldn't do it
Yeah.
if it wasn't giving you that
Yeah.
benefit. Um, yeah, I think especially because you're hitting people. That's why I feel more strongly towards it about fighting than hearing Lance Armstrong and the top 30 cyclists during that entire era were all fucking blood doping and all these cunts juicing and well, hey, about basketball, there's practically no
Nah.
PED scandals, and they
Nah.
could
Nah.
benefit a
Nah.
lot, man. Strength and power, it all makes a difference in basketball. I think
Mm,
for some reason,
maybe.
some sports have always been a bit dirtier than others. I don't know why. Maybe it's tradition. Maybe it's just the way it's always been. Culture. I don't know.
Excuse me.
Maybe it's just the
Yeah,
culture of the sport.
maybe. I think yeah. I guess it's one of those. These are the sort of sports where what's going to be more prevalent is where you need epic endurance, like 30-hour bike ride or whatever it is, right? Or you need to stop someone. If it's one person, you need to stop the other person
Exactly.
physically. Like you need to stop right now, like
Hmm.
shut you down, whatever it is. Yeah, I can see that maybe like they could like things like growth hormone, like they help you recover from injuries heaps better.